a data management solutions. We have 4 different apps in our portfolio: Duplicate Check, Record Validation, and Data Action Platform, and Super Round Robin. You're going to hear more about Duplicate Check in a second, and you're going to see it in the demo. And I'll also tell you in a few slides for each of the other apps. Important to remember is that we are all of our solutions are built natively on Salesforce. We're also been on the market since 2012, so we actually quite have a lot of experience when it comes to data quality, a lot of experts in our teams. Our apps are listed on the App Exchange, so if you want to check them out and learn more about them, you can do that on the App Exchange. And last but not least, we have quite a big portfolio of customers globally, but also across different industries, including a lot of nonprofit customers. And with that, I'm going to jump into a little overview of each of our apps, starting with Duplicate Check, which is the app to find, merge, and prevent duplicates. It's our most well-known solution. Nico is going to actually dive into the details a little bit further. In a second. Next to that, we have Record Validation, which is the app to validate and format email addresses, post addresses, and phone numbers. So it really helps the teams when it comes to their campaigns and delivering the accurate content to the accurate audience. And Data Action Platform. This is a platform, or our app, that is specifically actually designed for Salesforce admins. And what it does is it offers a lot of different actions, we call them, on data, that from really, like, you can do them on big, large data sets, and you can do them in single action executions. So it really makes data management very seamless and very easy. You can perform mass updates, you can perform mass delete actions, but also we have an integration with ChatGPT, which allows for even further automation. For example, when you want to enrich your data, enrich your records, or if you want to create content. So it's a very broad application. It does a lot. As I mentioned, it's specifically designed for admins, but it also, of course, has a lot of actions that are available for end users. And the best part is that there is a control delegation part as well, which means that the admins can really ensure which actions are available for the end users and to what extent, to ensure that everything that is done on the platform with these bulk actions on so much data is actually secure and safe. And that leads me to the last app in our portfolio, which is the one that we most recently added, and it's called Super Round Robin. And what it does is assign and route leads, contacts, accounts, opportunity, and cases in Salesforce. It's a great tool that we're very proud and happy to add to our portfolio, because now with, accurate routing is extremely important in Salesforce, but it also is important to have the accurate data to do that, right? So we're happy with the combination of all these tools that we can actually enable teams to focus more on their mission instead of manually having to do the clean up and also the routing and assignment. That is all in a nutshell. I know it's a very brief kind of introduction to what we do, but we basically are dedicated to clean, automate, and to orchestrate data. I'm sure you're gonna have a little bit more of a better overview as soon as you see Nico's demo. So I think we can quickly jump already to that. And I know that we also have some time set for questions, I think, at the end. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I guess Nico can take.
All right. Yes. Thanks, Martina. Thanks, Emma, for the opportunity. My name's Nico. I'm an account executive here at Plauti, and today I'll be demoing Duplicate Check. As Martina said, it's our solution to handle duplicate data in Salesforce. It's one of our most used apps, also around the world. It's one of the global apps in duplicate check and duplicate management. So let me share my screen and then we can go through it. I think everyone can see my demo.
Yes.
I'll take the silence as a yes. All right, thanks. All right, so as you can see, is my demo environment. I'll just go to the Salesforce app launcher and find duplicate check. We have all the different solutions here. Today we're focusing on duplicate check. As you can see from the get-go, it's a very, well, it seems similar to Salesforce. We really try to copy a lot of Salesforce style to make user adoption super easy. The user interface is very simple and we're native to Salesforce. So it also helps a lot with security. Now, for the nonprofit group, I've created a little bit of a well, demo set. I'll be working on person accounts. I am on the Sales Cloud, but we also work on all the nonprofit clouds, the old MPSP and the new nonprofit cloud. So it all works very similar. But as I mentioned, I'll be working on the Sales Cloud. Some of the cases we usually see are a lot of duplicate opportunities or donations, households duplicates. So we'll be focusing on those things. So first of all, what we'll do with duplicate check is we'll have to find duplicates, right? To find duplicates, we first have to identify the criteria on what do we consider duplicates. So to do so, we'll start with the DC setup here. Here you'll see all the objects you have available. By default, you will have the standard Salesforce objects, but duplicate check does work on any custom object that you might have. So you'll be able to implement it here. As I mentioned, we're going to be focused on person accounts, so we'll click on that. And the first step to do is to build a scenario. And a scenario is simply a collection of fields that will help us determine what fields do we want to compare between records. So in my case, I have two different scenarios. The person account plus email. Well, as the name says, I'm focusing on comparison of email addresses, last name and first name. And on my second scenario is a person account and address. So similar, the last name, the first name, and the billing details, the billing street, billing city. Well, once we have the fields here, we can add more fields. Perhaps you have any formula fields or custom fields that you would like to use. You're free to add any field you have available on the object itself. So if you also have unique identifier, for example, that's usually a very strong field to use when finding duplicates. And from there on, you can make sure you also use the correct matching method. The matching methods basically are between these fields, how do we want to compare the data? Are we looking for a bit of an exact match? So black and white, is it exactly the same data or not? Perhaps we want some fuzzy logic, for example, here on the email address, perhaps there's a typo, perhaps very similar, but a different domain, so on, right? We have a lot of different matching methods to accommodate every different type of field and every different type of data that you might have on those fields. Some examples, right? Person names, we have a specific matching method for names, for company names, phone numbers, dates. Well, as you can see, we have them all documented too, with examples to make sure you have the right input to decide on the correct matching method. Now, there's more features, but the last one I want to focus is the threshold. So the threshold is what defines from where on do we consider records duplicate, right? So in my case, it's a 76%. Meaning if the two records don't reach a 76% duplicate, it's not considered a duplicate. If it goes higher, it is considered a duplicate. Right, so it's pretty simple here. You select the fields you want to make comparison, what comparison you want to use between those fields with the matching method, and from where on do you consider them duplicates. All right, now later for the merging, we highly recommend setting up the merge rules, as you can see here. And the merge rules are basically, if you want to later do some merges, you define what is a master record, right? We call the master record, the record is going to be kept in your database. The other records will be deleted. So you can define that based on the date. So created date, modified date, or perhaps on a field or value that's important for you. You can select that. If X field has certain value, then that should be the master record. Those are rules that you can implement here. Additionally, per field on that object, you will be able to set a different rule. So some examples we like to share is on the email address. Perhaps two records have different email addresses, perhaps a working email and a personal email. You perhaps want to set a rule, keep all values. What this simply does is you will store both email addresses under the master record to make sure you don't lose any data in the process. And to show you how that is set up, it's pretty straightforward. You will create a field, basically what I like to call a dump field, where you're going to add all this additional data. In my case, I name it secondary email. You select which values to store, unique values, all values, and how do you want to space them out, right? So in this case, with a space. Click on save, and that is set up. Another example is with phone numbers. In this case, I have the modified date most recent. This will take into consideration the record that has most recent modified, perhaps that has the most up-to-date phone number. That is the phone number I want to store when I'm doing a merge. But as I mentioned, you can go very, very granular here with all the fields, making sure you have the correct rule on every field. Now, if there are any questions, feel free to let me know. We'll have a Q&A session at the end with a couple of minutes, so please save them then. Now, this was a bit of the setup. It's pretty simple, two steps. Now, to actually find duplicates, we're gonna run a job. So it's what we call a DC job, duplicate check job. Here, we'll start a new job. You will have to name it as you want. So in this case, I'm gonna do a person accounts cleanup. We select the object. You'll have all the different objects here that you have set up. In this case, we'll do a person account. We select the scenario. So in this case, I'll use both. The reason I'm using both here is because now they work with an OR operator. So I'm looking at duplicates based on the person account and the address, or the person account and the email. So this will give me a bigger flexibility with finding duplicates and better results. I can click on next. We have two options here. The scheduling, right? Is this a report, or will give you sort of a list of duplicates? Is this a list I want to receive weekly, monthly, daily? You can schedule it, and you can start an auto merge. So for the auto merge, we usually recommend to either start with a manual approach until you understand your numbers, your percentages, and then implement some auto merges. Or if you want to start with it instantly, definitely start a very, very high threshold. So how does it work? The record that are found as duplicates will have a percentage, right? And the auto merge is similar. You set a rule, everything above 95%, go ahead and automatically merge, basically. So we recommend to start very high, or perhaps with a manual approach, because every database is different, right? You find different results, you have different fields that you're comparing. So we cannot have a sort of a standard rule, say everything above 95, it's safe to auto merge. That really depends on each database. For this case, I'm gonna turn it off, and I'm gonna show you a way to do it afterwards too. We click on next, and we have the processing options. So we have three different options. The Salesforce platform, meaning that it's run within your cloud, your data doesn't leave your environment, and there's, well, no export of data. The DC local option, which runs on your local desktop or server. And the last is on an external Plauti cloud. For now, I'm gonna use the Salesforce platform, which is the one that stays all within the cloud itself. I click on start, and now the job is running. So as you can see here, it started here, it's processing. I can already see that it's finding a couple of results. So 11 there, we give it a couple seconds. This is gonna be completed, and then we can start evaluating the results. All right, there we go. So as you can see, it found 15 duplicate groups, average score of 93%. So if I click on view results, this is where we can actually see them. And this is a tip I like to give. I like to double click on minimum score just to rank them from highest to lowest. And then we can start working on them. So I open all groups, and now we can see the records next to each other, right? So up to here was the finding duplicates. Now we're gonna start with the actual merging. For the merging options, we have three different options. The first one is a manual merge. The second one is a quick merge or a semi-automatic merge. And the last one is an auto merge. So we'll do a little bit of them all, just to make sure everyone's familiar with them. The first one, right, I have here the two records. I click on the merge button, and this is one very similar to Salesforce. I have the two records next to each other, and I can start making the comparison. We can have up to 15 records at a time, so you can compare all 15 against each other, while Salesforce, I think, can only do up to 3. We have the merge preview, which is how the record looks after the merge. And from here on, you can click and select the data you want to store. So perhaps this account rating is not cold, but it's actually hot. I can click it and you can see how the field changes. Similar, if I want to do an edit here, for example, instead of ST, I want to spell street. I can do that, I can update it, and this is how the record will look after the merge. So I can click on merge and next, and it opens the next pair of duplicates in the report. And I can continue this way, merging them manually.
Can I ask a quick question about that, Nico?
Yeah, of course.
It looked like it showed all the fields on the record. Can you have it so it only shows you the ones that are different? So
yeah, so we have the different options here. So I have the equal fields too, but you can only result fields. So the ones you're using for comparison, read only fields. So you can here filter a little bit on what fields work best for you.
thank you.
All right. Now, the second way is quick merge or semi-automatic. So as you can see here, the fields here are basically fields to display. You can edit them to display the fields that will help you make a decision. In this case, I can see that this is a clear duplicate. I have set up my rules correctly, so I can just go ahead and quick merge. And what this does, it skips the merge preview. So it's a bit of an automatic approach, but still one by one. Therefore, I like to call it semi-automatic. And the last option, and this is why I like to rank them from highest to lowest, is because after a while, you're going to start seeing some patterns, right? And you're going to come to the conclusion that everything that is 100% match, or perhaps everything above 95 is a duplicate. I don't want to review them all. Let me start an automatic process to save me a lot of time. So what we're going to do is go back to the job layouts. Here's the job we have been working on. I will go to the job options and start an auto merge. And I'm going to start an auto merge from everything that is 95 or above. Once again, we'll have the processing options and a final check to acknowledge that you're starting an auto merge. Click on start. And now the auto merge has started. It will merge everything above 95%. And as you can see, the results are dropping down here. Now, if I open the results again, you'll see that there's nothing above 95. And the records here are between the 76, that was my minimum to be considered a duplicate, and below 95, since everything above has been merged already. This was basically step 2, the actual merging of records. We usually recommend to start with this to scan your database, find duplicates, and merge them all together. After that, you'll basically have a clean database, and what you want to focus then is on the third part, on the prevention features. For prevention features, we have a couple different features for admins, for end users. So we have a good, healthy variety for everything. For example, I'll work on the leads now, but it works exactly the same with all the different objects. So person accounts, households, donations, it will all work similarly. If I decide to create a new record with the standard new button, I will get an alert when I'm submitting a duplicate record. So as I go here, I can see here at the top that it's showing me already a potential duplicate. And this is a duplicate lead. It's also showing me there's a duplicate account for Plauti. So from here on, we have different options. Do you want to hard block your end users from creating records? Do you want to just alert them? Or do you want to do both together? So I have now a combination. If I click save, it will give me an error because I have a hard block, but I have a disabled duplicate check to still allow me to create that record that is considered a duplicate. That was a prevention on manual creation. We have another end user feature here, which is what we call duplicate check live. And as you can see, I'm working on an existing record, and duplicate check live, similar to the Salesforce one, is already showing me there's a potential duplicate. So here is the flexibility for you to empower end users to create perhaps a one-off merge and allow them to merge a record here. So because they can merge it, and that'll be just a one-off. With the permissions rules, you can limit the access that everyone can have on this kind of features. Now, a typical use case we see a lot with end users, with nonprofits, is with web forms or web to leads, what we call. So they're submitting data, and what we want to do with duplicate check is make sure that if that data is a duplicate, either flag it for an admin as a duplicate, or perhaps automatically merge with what is existing in your database. So for that, I'm gonna do a quick demo on both options. And to show you how to set it up, it's pretty straightforward. We go to the setup option. Then in this case, I mentioned I'll be working on the leads, but it's very similar, or it's exactly the same with all the different options. You have the scenario, you have the apply to section, and you select apply to web forms. This will do is with the flag when it's a duplicate, and it will show it to you in a report like in a DC job, as we just saw. The other option is what we call direct processing. If the record that's coming in meets a certain criteria, so in my case 95%, it will automatically merge with the record existing in my database. So I'm going to do a little bit of both examples to show you how it all works. For that, let me open my web form page, and I'm just going to submit the new record. In this case, I'm going to use my personal email, and I will add my phone number. There's a small typo there. There we go. So I'm just going to submit it. You can see here a little mascot, the data quality. So wherever you see a little koala like this, you know we have been there. A lot of stickers and swag, so we'll make sure to send a couple to Emma so she can share them out. Now, if we're quick, we can go to the job page. And okay, so now it created automatically a new job. Because it did meet the criteria to be 95% or above, it automatically merged. And to show you that I'm not just making things up, I'm lying to you. You can see here, I haven't done anything to this record. It's still here. It has no secondary email, no phone number. What I'm gonna do is now just refresh the page. And you can see how it automatically merged them together, but all that additional data was added to the existing record. So this way, even though it's an automatic approach, you can have the confidence that you'll be storing any additional data on the existing record, and therefore making sure your database is still clean. The second option, if let's say my record didn't meet that 95% threshold, let's say perhaps didn't fully spell out the company, or I had a small typo in my name, and I would to submit it, this wouldn't be considered a duplicate. And as we can see here, it's processing now. In a couple of seconds, there we go. We see that there is now one duplicate group. If I see the results, I can see that it only met an 84% duplicate, and therefore it was not automatically processed. And we can see here the two records next to each other. Right. So this is a simple way, two different ways to make sure that all the data coming in is either automatically merged or be kept in a report here for a manual review. As I mentioned, it works on all the different objects. It works on the MPSP cloud and nonprofit success package. So it's all covered there. And if you don't believe me just by showing it, we actually have a trial period for it. So if you're all interested in a trial, we can arrange that. Feel free to either add me or Martina on LinkedIn, and we can help you out setting the trial. It's a 14-day trial, and you'll have all the features available. The only limitation, and to be honest with you guys, is that you'll have a processing limit of 10,000 records at a time, meaning you can only scan 10,000 records in one job, for example. Other than that, you'll have all the different features that I've showed you. And I think that's what I had covered for the demo. I'm not sure, Emma, how the Q&A usually works. Is it on the chat or people just drop in? Or perhaps there's no questions.
Things went really well there. I couldn't get off mute. So people can feel free to come off mute if they'd like, but I will read the one that is in chat. So Vicky from Heritage Trust Network. Hey, Vicky. And she said, I'm assuming this is just working off fields. It's not possible to merge the chatter feed on duplicate records.
You're correct. The chatter object is a very tricky one usually. And yeah, we work on fields based. We can deduplicate any object, but a chatter field is different. I can double check how it exactly works, and I can send you later a message, Vicky, to give you a thorough answer on it. Actually, that reminds me of something. When we are merging records, perhaps there's different related objects to each record. It's worth to mention that out of the box, all related objects will be reparented to the new master record. So if you have two contacts, for example, each with donations, when you merge the contacts, all the donations will be under that new master record or master contact.
So somebody sent a question. I think they sent it directly to me in error. They said, what percentage requirement do you personally recommend for the auto merging? So, you know, like 75 versus 88, for example.
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely start very high. So for the automation, maybe start with 100% or 99, where maybe there's just a small typo difference. And as I mentioned, after a while, you're going to start seeing some patterns, right? When you do a couple jobs, you see 95 from above, it's usually duplicate. Then you can make the assumption, the safe assumption that everything above 95 is a duplicate. Feel free to do an auto merge from 95. I know it's not a very straightforward answer, and my apologies, but every database is different. So it's hard for me to let you know an exact percentage where it's safe.
I think that makes sense. I had a couple of questions for you. One was within the world of MPSP, I assume that you merge together the contacts, but that leaves an empty household, right? So do we just recommend then that people then go and delete their empty households, run a report and find those and clear those after, or?
Yeah, that could be an option, or perhaps you want to also merge the households together, and that would if you first merge the households together, for example, you would have the contacts under the same households, and then you could also do basically a two-step approach, and then also deduplicate the contacts.
Makes sense. So you could pick up from seeing that they're duplicates on the contact, move to the account, merge those together, and then merge the contacts.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
What we can also do, but it's not out of the box, it would include some coding, is use some Apex coding to make sure they both merge at the same time.
Clever. It's good to hear that's an option for those who might want it. And then my secondary question, I'm not going to forget what it is. I believe there is also a free offering on your website, right? What does that actually include?
Correct. We have three different licenses: the free, the advanced, and the premium. The free version has some limitations, so it only looks at exact matches, for example, between fields. It can scan up to 5,000 records, so it's very limited. The advanced version, which is already a paid version, has a little bit more, so fuzzy logic between records. And then the last one is the premium version, which has all the features I've showed you, and it's definitely the option to go with for automations if you're looking to speed up the process.
Okay, that's good. Yvonne popped in the chat. She said, can the product be bought in parts, or do they all come as a package? So I assume that question means, can duplicate check be bought separate to everything else? And are there any non-profit discounts that apply?
Good question. I think you're going to like the answer. We do have a non-profit discount, 25% out of any license that you decide to purchase. So that's a guaranteed. And for the products, yeah, you can buy, you can purchase duplicate check on its own, If you then want more specifications, as I mentioned, we have 3 different licenses for duplicate check. And the license depends a bit on the features and on your data volumes, for example.
Brilliant. Debbie's on mute and talking to us.
Sorry, I thought I'd unmuted. Regarding the licensing, is that per user licensing or is it per organization?
Good question. It's per organization. So with any license, you get unlimited seats, unlimited usage. Basically, the only factor we look into consideration, apart from the features, is we provide a scanning limit, and that scanning limit is how many records can you scan per job, basically. Right. So you scan, let's say you have 100,000 or 50,000 records. If you have a scanning limit above that, you can scan all your object. It's the same scanning limit per object. So we don't charge for any object additionally. We don't charge per seats. We don't charge per merges itself. It's just a one-time purchase on the scanning limit.
Amazing. Any more questions? Okay. Well, you know where to find Nico and Martina. You can contact them through LinkedIn, or I'm sure you can find them via the Plauti website as well. So I want to say a big thank you to Martina and Nico for coming along and doing the demo. I think that was really good. Gave us all something to think about. Let's all go clean up our duplicates, right? But not until we've heard from Barbara talk about MailChimp, right? Because that'd be rude if we all just went off and started installing Plauti. But thank you so much, Martina and Nico. That's really fun. And yes, absolutely, you need to send me koalas, because I'll be honest, I had a really cute koala sticker in my pocket from London's Calling and ended up in the washing machine. And I was actually quite upset. My koala came out from the washing machine looking all a bit squishy, and I was like, oh no, oh no.
Oh, there we go. Debbie has one.
There we go. Look, Debbie's already got one. So yeah, we'll try and get some koalas, and then we can hand them round.
Yes.
So brilliant, awesome. Some really happy people with that. So thank you so much. And you can feel free, Nico and Martina, if you want to hang around, feel free. If you've got other places to go, that's absolutely fine too. We understand. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emma, and everyone here for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.
Amazing. Okay. So without further ado, and we're literally on time, which this is amazing, let's hand over to the wonderful Barbara Christensen. Barbara, who is desperate to move to the UK. Anybody who has relocated to the UK, please give her hints, tips, guidance, and so on, because Barbara wants to become a resident with us. So she almost is one of us, which is amazing. So Barbara, take the floor.
Hello all, thanks for joining me. Thanks so much to the folks from Plauti for that great demo. It was really interesting. I am Barbara Christensen, as mentioned. I am 10 years or more as a nonprofit consultant, about 30 years before or altogether in the nonprofit space. So I've been here a long time. Most recently, I have been hired part-time by Beaufort 12 to help them do a little bit of support, help nonprofits in their space. They do a lot with nonprofits. Beaufort 12 is an integration company. They make 4 integrations of interest: Campaign Monitor, which I know some of you have used, Eventbrite, Emma, which is My Emma, which is an email platform. I don't know how much that gets used in the UK, and then MailChimp. Some of you have heard that MailChimp had a terrible integration before. I stopped recommending it years ago, and also, like Emma, moved people to Campaign Monitor. But now Beaufort 12 has made one, and MailChimp itself is so pleased with the integration that they are sunsetting their existing integration, but not kicking people off. And have named us as their official integration. That's going to be a long time rolling. They have a lot of customers on that old integration with lots of flows to fix it. I think Mark can probably speak to the best flows to fix those. And we're happy to be named, but we're not expecting people to move over to us immediately. We're hoping eventually they will like the features in the product enough to come. I am not a salesperson. I am a nonprofit person, so I'm a pretty casual demoer. If you see something and want to ask a quick question, feel free to pipe up. We're going to try to keep it, so short enough so that you can go do your duck race and on time. But I will also stay after. If Emma minds leaving the meeting open, I'll stay and answer questions. Okay, so I'm going to dive straight into a demo. I have a couple slides, but they're boring and nobody likes slides. I apologize. I had some technical difficulties with my computer yesterday, so I am just on my laptop. It'll be a little small. Yell if you can't see things. I'm going to share that screen, and I'm going to minimize my own face over here. It says you can all see my application now, so hopefully that is true. And let me minimize this. And Emma, I can't see chat. So if you would yell if somebody.
Barbara, you put yourself on mute.
I did.
You did, but you realised you did, which is brilliant. But yes, I will absolutely yell if something comes
Okay.
up. I'm currently being terrorised by my cat. So
Not
I'm
me,
going to
I am.
deal with being terrorised by my cat. And also, yes, I will keep an eye on the chat. And also,
you.
don't everybody be afraid of interrupting Barbara. I'm sure Barbara doesn't mind.
No, not at all.
I will absolutely leave this session open at the end. I'm going to say this right now, and I'm going to message the person who I do have a meeting at 4, but I'm going to message them and ask if we can jump into a different Teams or something.
Or
So,
I can also open up a meeting on my own account if people are
amazing.
really want to stick
Even
around.
better. So if anybody wants to stay and chat to Barbara, she's happy to do so. That is great. Fantastic.
Great. Awesome. So MailChimp, as you know, is an email platform. I'm not going to give you a tour of them. I've used MailChimp at my previous job at Percolator Consulting, but as our email tool, but I haven't used it in a while. So I'm more an expert on the Salesforce side. So MailChimp for Salesforce, to give you a broad overview, is meant to be pretty easy to use, as long as you stick within the sort of stuff we give you out of the box. We have some features to add on that you can add on yourself afterward if you're a whiz. I will talk about those momentarily, but out of the box, it's install. There's a guided wizard that will walk you through setting up your MailChimp account. And you're good to go. It'll start syncing data, and then we have some walkthrough wizards to help you set up data flowing from Salesforce up into MailChimp. Sorry. So let's look at sort of what the app looks like as a broad overview, and then we'll dive into details. The data syncs from MailChimp down when you first connect, and it will automatically display your audiences. If you have more than one audience or more than one account, we can handle that. Right here, I have 3 accounts. Also, this is my test environment. One of the technical issues was my demo environment went to heck. So you will see some junk data in here. I'll try to keep us focused on the good data. But let me show you here. I have 3 accounts, each with a single audience. And then I have, you can, depending on the type of MailChimp account, you could also have multiple audiences. So they would all be listed here, which is how some people, keep their department separate, or maybe you are an affiliation organization and one person might manage all the affiliates. It's all doable. So I'm going to go into my independent consult. Nope, sorry, wrong one. My B12 new test account. And I'm going to open the audience I have called volunteers. What the data model to understand about all of Beaufort 12's app, but MailChimp especially, is we start out of the box assuming you don't want to store a bunch of data in Salesforce. So we do our best to surface data so it talks directly to MailChimp the second you open a screen or you look at one of our components. There are optional ways to store a lot of data, things like email tracking history, so you can run reports on it. But just keep in mind that some of this is surface data, so it's just like showing it on a component, and some of it is real data in the system, and I will try to call that out. But we start by giving you basically the same screen you'd see in MailChimp with your general stats, about just to save you going back and forth. But if you really like to work in MailChimp, this is a little different than our campaign monitor integration where there's a tab. We can't do that with MailChimp's API. We do give you really quick links to everything in MailChimp, and we will try to take you to those places. So if you like your audience dashboard, hopefully I'm logged into the right org. Yes, I am. Look at that. You can go straight there without having to log into MailChimp, open MailChimp, find the spot. The one I use the most is the merge fields because that is hidden like heck in MailChimp. And so you can sort of live in Salesforce, work in Salesforce, and then only go to MailChimp when you need it. We do not send emails, the campaigns from inside of Salesforce. MailChimp's API just does not support it. You have to go to MailChimp to actually build the email and send it, but you can build the lists and build the segments from inside Salesforce. Every audience, you get a sort of overview of your members. You can sort of see where they are, what their status is. You can see, if you use MailChimp rating, you can use MailChimp's rating and some basic stats. And then if you click in, I'm going to use a specific record here. This is Emily Post. If you click in, you can see more information about a single member. And that includes any groups and tags, including being able to add them to groups. Create a tag on the fly. So if I want to say UK here and save, you can add that tag on the fly. Groups you have to add in MailChimp. That's a limitation of the API. But let's say I have a couple groups here. I'm just going to save that. And so now I've updated her record one at a time. You can also, we display activity. Right now I have this limited, so let me show you. We display things like audit activity, where you can see what group I just added, what tag I added, when they opted in. I will show you a little bit later if they've opened or clicked emails. Those will all show here. And again, this is surface data. So this is not storing 1 million records for each of these little steps in your system. There is an audit feature. Hopefully you won't need to use it. It's sort of to help an admin figure out why someone maybe isn't syncing. And then if you have any merge fields, like I have merged first name and phone in this list, you can see the values that are currently in MailChimp. If something's changed, like you've just edited something, you can come in and refresh it and it'll go pull them in again. So it's a nice little handy tool. Again, this is one-on-one records. This is looking at a single person. So maybe for mass marketing, not really what you need, but for doing things like a major donor solicitation or dealing with a volunteer directly, it's handy to be able to get in and see what they've last opened or, you know, learn something about them. We do, in fact, display campaigns. And this, I can find, when we go back, I'll show you a contact who has some campaigns. I have to go into a different instance, apologies. And we will display what they clicked, what they opened, and there will even be a preview of the email that they were sent. And again, this is all surface data. We do store the campaign itself and its statistics in Salesforce as a record. But again, there is a feature to also store email tracking history, which I'll try to touch on if there's time. Data Wizard, this is the place I wanted to jump in. And I'm in the wrong audience. Hold on a second. No, I'm in the right audience. So the Data Wizard sends data from Salesforce to MailChimp. It creates members or updates members. So if there are things that you need to update, you can run a Data Wizard, even if they're already in MailChimp. We'll walk through this together so you see how easy it is. It runs hourly at the lowest, and there are some automatic triggering options. We will talk about that a bit later. So I'm going to say launch wizard. Data Wizard can run off of a list view on a specific object. It can run off of a report. It can run off members of a campaign. And if you're fancy, it can even run off Stockwool. I recommend most people do reports because you can get access to lots of data structure, right? It doesn't have to be a contacts report or a leads report. It can be a report of any object, any combination of objects. All it needs is an email address. So I've got a report ready for us here. And then you say next. And volunteers active. This report is pulling because it's test data, but you can imagine. And then what it does is it will look at the report, and all the columns on the report become a field you can access in this mapping. So these are up top here, all the standard MailChimp fields, right? Like these just come with with MailChimp. And then I have added, this is my testing environment. They have not very useful names, but I have added custom merge fields. Now let's say what I need is missing here. Let me see if I remember what.
I have a
I'm
quick
gonna add a-
question, Barbara,
Oh,
while
yeah,
you're on
yeah.
the screen. If
Mhm.
you don't want to merge a particular MailChimp field, you just leave it as none, correct? There doesn't seem to
Just
be a
leave it
good
blank.
Okay.
Yep.
thank-
Yep. And if you are lazy like me and want the robot to think for you, you click AutoMap and it will attempt to find all the things that kind of match the field names. It's not perfect. It'll also remember the last mapping you used, which is nice. And I don't know why it should find email. I don't know why it didn't, but it'll remember if next time I go to another report and try to map it, it'll say, oh, last time they connected email address to email. I'll give that a try. So let's say the field I need, a merge field I need, I realize is not on here. We're going to add a merge field and it's got to be on the report. So I added last gift amount and last gift date. I'm going to start with last gift date. I would recommend doing it here instead of going to MailChimp, creating the field and syncing it back, because data types between systems are always a little bit funky. Like MailChimp doesn't have a true checkbox. All the checkboxes only work with groups, or, you know, like there's various differences between the two, and we try our best to handle them all. If you found an edge case, let us know. We will try to handle it. But here you'll know we see it's the data type of date. You can, in fact, fill out the same fields you would fill out on the merge field in MailChimp, include making it required and visible on your preference centers and your signup forms and that help text that you would add for a user seeing it. I'm not going to do that. And it's going to automatically make the field in MailChimp, merge field, and automatically map it. Super easy, takes 2 seconds. And again, just a reminder, people, I get this question a lot on support. It has to be a column on your report or your list view to see it. That's just because that's the source. And the cat I'm cat sitting for might come visit us, sorry. And then I'm just going to click next because this is all pretty much ready to go. Remember that membership interface where we could, in a singular way, add people to groups, edit their tags. You can do it for the whole list here. The whole list you can edit, add them to a group, add them to a tag. You can manage tags from here. Again, we can't manage groups. That's a MailChimp API issue, but you could add really quickly. You know, it's going to take you to the tags and you can add a tag real quick. Oh, no, sorry, you can do it here. My bad. So yeah, you get some options. There is this replace tags, which is a call out in the MailChimp API. I don't know who uses this, to be honest with you, but because it's there, we decided to offer it to people. It will fully replace all the tags for all the people on that list. There is a couple more granular ways to deal with tags, which are called invocable actions. Mark has been playing with them recently that we just chatted on support. And I will quickly touch on that later if I can. But that's it. It's pretty simple. And then you can schedule it. So you can schedule it however you like, or you can just go with the basic hourly. And the run as, you can set it with a run as. So like if I don't have access to all the data, you can choose run as a user with access to the data you care about. You do that by doing a login as the admin. That's how you do it for now. We're working on an option to sort of change that. It's available in Campaign Monitor, but it's coming eventually. And then you save and import. And it will run, try to send that data over. This is like a report of 10 people, so it should probably be pretty fast. And then once the report is completed, if you can have more than one data wizard job. So if you need to send data over from 4 different reports or different departments, you can have them all running. You want to be careful that your field mapping matches across, because you don't want fundraising's, last important date overwriting volunteering last important date. You just want to have some internal guidance for your team, or save them base reports that they use to auto map, something of that nature. And I will stop after this to check in on questions, but let me show you this real quick. Note, this is something I missed. I had to be told to. If this is red and says failed, you can click on it and it's going to give you a big long stack trace that you can send to us if you're having trouble, or it'll try to tell you the error, so you understand what's going on. You can just click on it. This down here is the sort of overall, all the imports. It's not the records within the imports. That is available for the results here. We will try to tell you if a field validation didn't work, or, you know, if like you tried to send over data malformed or didn't work, because we kind of have to check it on the Salesforce side before we send it. So or there's something wrong with the field validation on the MailChimp side. You have it set to a certain number of characters or a phone field into a date field. It's going to yell at you and say, hey, by the way, these records didn't work and here's why. So that, and then how many were created, how many were updated. So that's the import wizard. Again, each audience and each list has their, like at the list level, you have your own imports. So each audience you have, each account you have, all the way down to the list is where you set up those imports. So it can be really granular depending on what you need. I'll stop for questions really quick there, and I need to check the time because I can't see my time.
You're good, Barbara. You're
Okay,
good.
great.
So, questions. So Mark's put some sort of helpful things in the chat, but the question he did ask was, he said he vaguely remembers it being mentioned that the plan was to have the MailChimp activity be combined with the Salesforce activity. Is that still the plan?
I don't know that I've ever heard that, but you're just as plugged in as me, Mark. So maybe you did. As of right now, it's not, and that's simply the sort of, we'd have to create email activity records. And I don't remember why we can't. I can find out and let you know, but no, that's, as far as I know, that's not the plan right now. But that doesn't mean in the future Matthew won't say, oh, I bet I could put those together on the same component at least and make that work. We have a whiz architect / developer. There's only 3 of us, so one of them's a whiz. The other 2 just keep the place running.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Mark also said, question, if you have a data wizard that runs, say, once an hour, can we get an email or a notification with the details?
Like all those details, no, but I'm working on a recipe document FAQ on how to set yourself up a subscribed. Oh, maybe that will come with the details, Mark. That's a great idea. Let me add that to my FAQ. A sort of subscribed report that will tell someone if there's an error, or you can just see how many records were sent over. That basically you can report on it and have it mailed to you, or subscribe when it hits a certain threshold of failures or whatever you like. Yeah.
I'm
yes,
going to ask a quick question as well,
Yeah.
like before I throw it over, because I know Martin Brown's also got a question. So just quick question. Where, and I don't know if this is in your docs, because obviously I've more worked with campaign monitors up to now, and I'm sure I'm going to be doing MailChimp pretty soon. But where does somebody start if they are either moving from, let's say, the old integration to the new one, or even let's go back a step further, what if they've got like what if they've got like a ton of email addresses in MailChimp, because commonly people have built their list in MailChimp and they may not have even put them in Salesforce? Like, do you give any sort of like, brilliant, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that's where we'll talk about the multiple emails as well.
Brilliant. Let's do that then. And then Martin, if you still got a question, you can come off mute and ask Barbara that then.
Okay, so I'm going to take full credit for this one because I'm very proud of it. I talked them into, way back before I was working for them, making sure they manage the multiple emails of NPSP. I whined a lot, and they're hoping to add this to our other apps as well in the future. Some of those will take a complete reworking, so no promises there. So Data Wizard, remember, is data being sent from Salesforce in a sort of chunk every hour via report, list view, etc., up to MailChimp. It can update fields. It will just send the data at the moment it pulls it up to MailChimp. For some folks, hourly is not good enough, right? They need it to happen more often. So we have a couple options. The easiest out of the box is the Salesforce to MailChimp triggered mappings. So this means, and please listen to this part a bit, because for some of you, this may cause more drama than you want to take on, and the hourly import will be enough. This is a triggered Apex class that every time a contact or lead or person account, if you're in person accounts, is edited, we send this data that you have mapped up to MailChimp. Triggers on contacts mixed with NPSP can be a lot, right? Because there's just a lot going on. We're thinking of ways to handle the TDTM. It's going to be a while till that's a thing, but most folks find the import wizard is more than enough. However, if you really need their last expiration date or their expiration date or their last gift date or their must go immediately, because let's say you want to trigger a journey, I remember what they call them in MailChimp automation. You can do that with these fields. And again, like the wizard, you will see it has an auto map feature. You can add a merge field like we did before. Like, let's say I want to add, and this is actually all fields on, you can do total gifts, all fields on contact or lead. You can do it all here. It's the exact same interface as on the report import. And we have ways to test mapping and retrospectively apply when we get to the other side. You can retrospectively apply this because this mapping only happens from the moment you set up the mapping forward. But let's say you have a lot of data in Salesforce, you want to map it all the way back to the beginning of the database. It will sweep the whole database and push the data up. Again, please use this carefully, test it thoroughly, because it is all triggered and things can conflict. It's really common for stuff to conflict, especially Dolores rollups, declarative lookup rollup summary, sorry, or rollup helper. Any of those triggered rollups can sometimes, you're writing up a field to contact, updating contact, writing, it's sort of like you can get in a loop. So you want to be careful there.
Before
yeah.
Martin pipes in, Mark Jones posted another question adding on to what we're already talking about. And
Sure.
The question was, because it's a trigger based, does this affect anything like our daily API callouts?
We try really hard to stay within limits. We have a couple, I need one of the dev team to answer this for me. I've heard if we hit limits, you'll need to, we like stop it for the day and start again. You throw an error and let you know that you've hit limits. And we do a little bit of queuable batching. So it's not like a straight call out. It goes to a queue probably in like momentarily. It's not like immediate, it's like 2 seconds later type of call out. But sorry, I'm not the expert there, Mark, but we can find out for you. Yeah, Matthew's brain is massive. Did I miss anything else?
Martin might want to just ask his question about the multiple emails, because I don't know if there's anything to add to that.
Yeah, let me get to that in a second. That's the next screen. I want to just start Salesforce to MailChimp. So that's that direction. You can handle multiple emails with multiple import wizards, Salesforce to MailChimp. So and I will look at the actual single contact record in a second, and you can see that it can come back and match on multiple emails. But for outgoing, you do it with multiple import wizards. You can't really do it here because an email it's hard to set up the UI to let you choose multiple emails to send data out of. So instead you would just map all the other fields and then use a couple of import wizards, each using their own email column to send to Salesforce, and it will make multiple subscribers. And I'll show you that in a second. And let's talk about coming back from, right? So I heard you have lots of emails in MailChimp. You don't have them in Salesforce yet as contacts. We have features for that. Matching rules handle two things. First and foremost, out of the box, they handle matching our custom member record, which we will look at in contact in a second, to the contact or the lead or the person account with the email that matches according to the rules. So let's look at those rules. And this is where NPSP awareness is great. And this works for everyone, not just NPSP, but NPSP has lots of emails. And so you can choose all or none of the emails to match on as members come back into MailChimp, or into Salesforce, excuse me, to sort of keep the member record tied to the contact. It will find. We have a couple of hierarchy of matching to help out. We do our best. The first is exact email, first and last name, or exact email. If there's more than one, we match on exact email, first and last name. And if there's more than one of those, we match on most recently modified. We kind of do our best to help you out there. use Plauti to clean up your dupes. But this can help you if you have people with, work emails who are doing work-related activism with you, or sorry, not work-related, work-related stuff with you, and then activism, they can't use their work email. You can send over multiple emails into MailChimp, and then it'll come back and attach them all to the right record because you've chosen to match on all the emails. And this will make a little more sense when we look at a contact, but are there any questions about this incoming?
The email field where it's just email, that one is also the preferred email, correct?
Yeah, that's that NPSP roll up to the email that they don't even put on the layout anymore. And it doesn't get, the workflow doesn't get in the way. I heard there was some drama with workflow recently on the NPSP workflow, but yeah, it doesn't get in the way because of the way triggers run it before workflows. So, okay. And then let's say I'm signed up in MailChimp. You've had your MailChimp account forever. I'm not yet in Salesforce because some admin didn't want to export, import because there wasn't a good enough sync. You can make accounts on the fly. Or sorry, contacts and leads on the fly. So what you will do is use this next step, which is creation rules. And you can say, create a contact. NPSP folks, we are NPSP aware. Do not create an account. Just leave it blank. And like NPSP does all the time, you create the contact, the household gets made. Other options, of course, for folks not on NPSP is you can create an account, set the record type. So this is just a warning for the NPSP folks. Don't try to make the account yourself because let NPSP do its job. But if you have that one-to-one model of where I work is my account, you can create an account if you have it. If you've asked for their company name, you could use any of these merge fields down here in your name structure. This should all look pretty familiar. We do this with opportunity naming and NPSP. But for nonprofits, do not create an account. And then again, mapping. Remember that this mapping applies either or every time the record's edited and when you create it, or if you don't want to update data in Salesforce from your existing MailChimp records that match to an existing contact, you just want to use the mapping on create, you could choose this. So that means this mapping would only apply on create. There isn't you can't right now use different mapping for create versus update. I don't know if we'll support that. That's a pretty big UX, but there are a couple other ways around it. So that's the multiple field. Let me show you sort of what it looks like to add. I have a multi email here. Is it going to work? No, I'm sorry. This is my test environment. Let me see if I can really quickly find the multi. So what this will look like. So this is a contact. This is our component that you can put anywhere on a page layout that you like that has an email address on the object. It would say, both of these would say volunteers. It would say, I think I had this Pasha and, BRC, NP Tech work. You would have two different emails on the same list, and that all handles that. As of right now, these sort of one-on-one components, not bulk management like an import, you can only work with the main email field. We don't have it set so that you can choose which email you're using, and it'll warn you right here. It's going to say, I'm using the main email, which is my email plus Pasha. And you can, if there's multiple lists, you can sort of manage your list. This is all pretty simple. You can unsubscribe, resubscribe people. I'll show you what that looks like. And this again is my accounts, the 3 accounts I have, each of them, because they're free MailChimp accounts, has one audience. If there were multiple audiences, you would drag them back and forth and save. And I'll show you that it immediately unsubscribes up in MailChimp and it updates their status. You get some, you have some choices here. You cannot show this rating if you don't care about it. You can show the email or not. Like if you don't use multiple emails, you don't need to show the email because it's their email. And you get some opens and clicks. It's, and then here, each user can have their own filters on this activity. If they only care about the volunteer list, they could show just the volunteer list. If they don't care about the audit information that we looked at earlier and just the sends, opens, and clicks, each user gets to set this themselves. Sorry, I can't apply this because I have too small a screen. There we go. So this is that same activity component we saw in the member component. It's just on each contact and related to each contact. And I went kind of fast there because I know we're going slim on time. So let's see what that we have for questions.
Okay, so one of the things that Mark asked was just for clarity, you can match multiple contacts in MailChimp to a single contact in Salesforce if you match by the relevant email fields.
Correct. Yes, there will be multiple emails here. But this, just so you know, this managed list component only works on the main email field right now. That may happen in the future. I can't guarantee it though. It's a relatively complex UX and people will be confused.
Makes sense. Sarah was pointing out that she's recently done a project where they implemented your app and replaced the legacy free app. She'd be happy to speak to that approach. We pointed out we might be short on time, but with the number of people interested, we might be able to do that as a follow-up to our user group. So Sarah, I'm happy for us to take that offline and have a chat about that as well.
Yeah, and Sarah, I'm happy to come to that. Just let me know.
Oh my goodness, that would be even better. So maybe we can have Barbara back and maybe we could do a special like UK nonprofit user group, replace your legacy MailChimp with the new Beaufort 12 MailChimp. Like that might be fun to do. I think that would be cool. I would be happy to do that. We could do that as a separate session maybe, and then anybody who doesn't care about that, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we've got people like showing like the the party popper thing. So that's cool. Okay, that sounds fun. Any other questions? So we've got about 5 minutes. Any more questions for Barbara? Oh, somebody's asked about cost.
Yes. So you can see our pricing. Sorry, I have to use the website. It's a sliding scale. So somebody less than 10,000 records will be 25 a month. This is without nonprofit discount. And you can just sort of put in what your subscriber count is. So this isn't unsubscribed. We don't charge for that the way MailChimp does. This is just subscribed MailChimp members, just so you know. And that is every month we check to see what you used last month and we charge you at that tier. So you can kind of scroll. We are currently offering a special for our nonprofit friends of 50% off for the first 12 months. Right, and then it moves to our standard discount, which right now is 10%. We are a very small team, and with all the fees, it's a pretty significant chunk for us to give this 50% off, but we're hoping that MailChimp is so popular, it's going to help us build our base, and then we might be able to change our discount a little bit. We're working on that. I'm not at all whining about it on a regular basis.
And the pricing is per org, correct?
Yeah, it's org wide. It is a what they call a site license. You don't need one per user or anything. You have as many users as you like. And yeah, when you're ready to go, let us know. We can get you a code for that. And you can do all your billing right inside the app now. We've added this sort of billing interface on settings. I didn't dive into settings. We can go in it later. I will call out the thing I can't cover today is invocable actions. We're adding invocable actions for flow, for tag management, for unsubscribe, resubscribe, group management. They're coming as we can. Running a import on the fly. That's a really handy one in Campaign Monitor. So all the ones you see in Campaign Monitor, hopefully we will make it into MailChimp. So.
Apologies if I missed it earlier. Have you got an approximate how long it might take you to migrate over from?
Minutes.
Oh.
So it's not a your data is in MailChimp and your data is in Salesforce. So the data stays where it is. All you have to do is turn on our integration and configure it to match the data you want coming back and forth. I can set up a very simple Salesforce to MailChimp integration with a report in like 10 minutes. Obviously, most nonprofits are not that simple. They have, special Snowflake things they want to do with their data, but it's really fast. I really love that. And we will try to set up the layouts for you when we install, like, as you may have seen in Contact, let me go to Emily here. There's a MailChimp tab. We will try to do that for you. If we can't, we'll let you know. And there's a set of click-through instructions on how to do it yourself.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a
can't
quick
see the-
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know you didn't go through the MailChimp settings where you turn on the email activity to bring it over.
Mm-hmm.
I've turned that on, and some of the help documentation says that you can use your out of the box setting. I cannot, the thing that I cannot get on a report is that MailChimp membership average rate and click rate, even though it's there, the
Okay.
fields are there. So where's the best place to go for help for that? I guess it's
Yeah. So please send us, we are on support all the time. They hired me part-time to handle US time as best I can. And so if you come to contact, please, if you can, include your org ID so we can, especially if you're a consultant, because you have lots of org IDs attached to your email, and just ask the question here, and one of us will get back to you as soon as possible. We reply in 24 hours, but honestly, we most often reply within minutes because both Ross and I sit there all day and look at it. But please, yeah, send us a support ticket is the easiest way. It just keeps the data attached and
wonderful.
yeah.
Thank you.
Of course, yeah, happy to help. And I will look at that because I'm working on some more report. We have some packaged reports in the system under the MailChimp folder, but it's just the beginning of the reports that you could copy and use. So I will have a look at that too today. I did not realize that wasn't there. Am I missing any? I'm going to stop sharing real quick so I can see faces. My own though. Any other questions?
Yeah, I was going to say, any other questions?
Doug Grace.
Okay, so I think our follow-up to this might be just to do another kind of follow-up, as we say, of maybe, you know, Sarah and Barbara, and I managed to put myself on mute. It must be a thing about this meeting. Sarah and Barbara can maybe do a session. We can talk about moving from old MailChimp world to new MailChimp integration world and what that looks like. I think that would be pretty good. Would it be pretty good? And Mark as well.
And
Yeah,
Mark,
sorry,
yeah.
of course. Mark was saying he's got some feedback too, which I think that would be fab. I think that would be really good. So yeah, let's connect and let's sort that out. We can do that as a shorter, I was going to say a shorter session, but we can maybe just put a longer session in, leave time for lots of questions and stuff like that. I think that would be really good.
I'm happy to.
Okay. And I think that will be fab, and that will be additional to our quarter 4 meeting, whatever we do, because you know we want to talk about other stuff too.